Hi guys, it's Quinn here. If you enjoy my videos, consider hitting the like button. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm really notices me. Today we're going to talk about a book from an author that most of you have definitely heard of, but I'm willing to bet that the vast majority of you have never heard of this particular book. This is a book by Frank Herbert, author of Dune, and it's called Hellstrom's Hive. This book was originally published in 1973, 8 years after the publication of the first Dune book. And in this book, Frank Herbert continues to explore the 4 things that he's most excited about: ecology, human social structures, government, and the future of humanity. Keep in mind that this video will have major spoilers for this book, so if spoilers is something that you don't like, you probably want to click off of this, but if you don't care, continue forward. In this book, we follow members of a government organization known only as the Agency. The Agency has caught wind of some sort of secret weapons program on a farm somewhere in rural Oregon. They also believe that some sort of cult-like society might be forming. They send an agent out named Porter to kind of check things out. He ends up going mysteriously missing. Ultimately, it turns out that there is a weapon, and the power of this weapon is beyond anything the Agency ever even considered. At the head of this weapons project was a man named Dr. Niels Hellstrom. Hellstrom understood that he needed a weapon so powerful because he had something very important to protect. A festering, swarming secret living beneath the very earth itself. Hellstrom has a weapon that makes an atom bomb look like a child's pop gun. Those guys in the car, those FBI agents your buddy was worried about, they were knocked out by a little hand version of this weapon. That handheld weapon can kill people at a distance or just knock them out. Believe me, I've seen it. Now, the area surrounding this mysterious farm where Hellstrom supposedly resides is devoid of all animal life, and most of the vegetation is wiped clean except for grass. It is eerily plain, unnaturally so. The Agency eventually sends more agents to follow up after Porter goes missing, and what they eventually discover has implications for not only the future of humanity, but the entire Earth. We eventually discover that deep beneath the farm, inside the Earth, in a system of tunnels and caves, lives an entire society of insect-human hybrid workers, and they are highly specialized like bees or ants. Hellstrom's Hive didn't operate under a code of ethics or morality. Essentially, only 2 things mattered: what was good for the Hive and what was not good for the Hive. The Hive was also moving towards what Herbert describes as a non-verbal base for human existence. He describes finding such a base as one of the major purposes for the Hive. On this base, they would build a new language fitted to their needs. Now, the Hive has been around, semi-coexisting with humanity for hundreds of years. Hellstrom has been the leader of the Hive for about 100 years. He fully believed in the superiority of the Hive over normal humanity. Now, there's a really interesting thing that Frank Herbert does with this book. He frames the Agency as very hypocritical and positions Hellstrom's Hive as kind of the protagonist, even though they represent this kind of anti-human force vying for the soul of mankind. One really interesting and deranged concept in this book that's actually quite similar to 2 separate concepts in Dune is the concept of the sexual stumps. Now, I think this concept is quite similar to both the concept of the axolotl tanks and the concept of the Bene Gesserit breeding program. Now, these sexual stumps were essentially humans that had been reduced to their breeding parts, torso to the waist, and they provided certain genes that the Hive needed. The Hive often bred with outsiders because they needed the genetic diversity. Now, I'm sure those of you that have read the Dune series can see the very clear similarity between that and the Bene Gesserit breeding program, as well as much later in the series, the Tleilaxu axolotl tanks. The ultimate goal of the Hive was obvious and unavoidable. Two dominant species often cannot coexist. The Hive intended to assimilate all of humanity and completely displace individual-based mankind. They were going to swarm before long, and there was nothing the outsiders could do to prevent that swarming. Swarm would follow swarm thereafter, and the wild ones would be assimilated and pushed back into smaller and smaller portions of the planet they shared now with tomorrow's humans. So the Hive is an anti-individualistic society whose only concern is the survival of the society as a whole. Any individual is only tolerated if they benefit the society as a whole, the Hive. Science fiction writers, Frank Herbert being no exception, are often concerned with the future of humanity, not just technologically and aesthetically, but culturally, socially, genetically. What aspects of humanity are valuable enough to hold on to for thousands of years, millions of years? And what aspects will we let go of and lose over time? Now, the Hive is better than humanity at several things. They're stronger individually, they're more efficient, their specific adaptations would permit them to exist at 10 to 12 times greater density than humanity could exist at. So they have a much higher potential sustainable population than humankind. They also live much longer lives than normal humans. So the question is, what, as a species, do we value more? Do we value the strength and the efficiency and the longer lives? Or do we value our individuality, our free will, our ability to decide the path of our lives for ourselves? And not saying that all of those things are mutually exclusive, those are just examples. But as a species, we will have to choose between certain aspects of ourselves as we continue to move forward as a species and continue to evolve and change. So, as always, Frank Herbert uses his narrative as a vehicle to philosophize, and I found this book to be a really great exploration of some really interesting science fiction and philosophical concepts. So if you like the work of Frank Herbert, definitely check out this book. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe for more Quinn's ideas. Peace out. Also, check out our Patreon, as it is the best way to support this channel. Thanks so much.